Welcome in my story corner. I'm Jess, and here we read all kinds of stories. Some are true stories, some fiction, and some true stories that we sometimes wish were fiction. We do them all. So if you're into intriguing, dark, and scary tales, it's time to kick back, chill, and relax. If you're new here, welcome. Stay a bit, see if you like it. We'd love to have you. The Silver Wolf Queen. Chapter 5. The Queen's Lessons. The celebration lasted long into the night. Bonfires burned across the hidden valley. Silver wolves sang songs that had not been heard outside the forest for centuries. Children ran through the streets carrying silver ribbons. Warriors shared stories around the flames. For the first time in 1,000 years, hope had returned to their people. Their queen had come home. Unfortunately, Ivy hated every second of it. Not because she disliked the silver wolves. Quite the opposite. The problem was that everyone suddenly seemed determined to stare at her. Everywhere. All the time. She couldn't walk 10 steps without someone bowing. Couldn't sit down without half the valley pretending they weren't watching her. Couldn't drink water without somebody looking emotional. It was exhausting. For 20 years, she had been invisible. Now she couldn't scratch her nose without creating an audience. A truly terrible trade, especially for someone who preferred avoiding attention. The morning after her transformation, Ivy escaped before sunrise. At least she tried to. The hidden valley remained quiet. Most wolves still slept. Mist drifted between the ancient trees. Birdsong echoed through the mountains. For the first time since arriving, she found herself enjoying the peace. No crowds. No elders. No celebrations. No discussions about destiny. Just silence. Perfect silence. Naturally, it lasted less than 10 minutes. "You're hiding," Ivy groaned. Without even turning around, she recognized Orion's voice. The giant silver wolf emerged from the mist, looking entirely too pleased with himself. "I prefer the term escaping. That would require success." He laughed softly. "You're remarkably annoying for an ancient guardian." The old wolf's amusement brushed against her thoughts. "And yet you keep talking to me." Unfortunately, he had a point. A deeply irritating point. Orion settled beside a large stone overlooking the valley. The mountains stretched endlessly beyond them. For several moments neither spoke. The peaceful silence returned. Then Orion ruined it. "You are angry." Ivy sighed. "Everyone keeps calling me queen. Yesterday I was cleaning dishes." Both statements can be true. Ivy rubbed her forehead. "Do you know how ridiculous this sounds?" Orion considered the question. "Yes. Good. Reality rarely concerns itself with sounding reasonable." Again with the annoying wisdom. The giant wolf had a talent for delivering profound observations that somehow made arguing impossible. A deeply unfair skill. Below them, the hidden valley slowly came to life. Morning fires burned. Families emerged from their homes. Warriors prepared for training, and life continued, despite everything that had happened. Ivy watched them quietly. Do they really believe I can lead them? The question came softer than intended. More vulnerable. More honest. Orion's expression immediately changed. The humor vanished. "They do." "But why?" The answer came without hesitation. "Because they have spent 20 years hoping you survived." His golden eyes drifted toward the valley. "Hope is a powerful thing." Ivy swallowed. that wasn't what she wanted to hear. Because hope came with expectations. Expectations came with failure. And she had spent most of her life failing at things wolves were supposed to do naturally. Shift. Fight. Belong. Lead. The last one felt especially absurd. I don't know how to be a queen. The admission hung between them. Orion nodded. Of course you don't. Ivy blinked. That wasn't the response she expected. The old wolf continued. You have been one for less than 2 days. A reluctant smile appeared. Fair. No one is born knowing how to rule. Orion rose to his feet. Which is why your training begins today. The smile immediately disappeared. Of course it did. Every pleasant moment in life eventually led to training. Humans had somehow turned learning into punishment. A remarkable achievement. What kind of training? The look Orion gave her made her nervous. Very nervous. Everything. Ivy's eyes widened. That was not an encouraging answer. The training field sat at the edge of the valley. A massive clearing surrounded by towering cliffs and ancient pines. Warriors gathered along the perimeter. Not because they had been invited, but because news traveled quickly. And apparently the possibility of watching their newly discovered queen get knocked around during training counted as entertainment. Ivy wasn't sure whether to be offended or impressed by their honesty. Arya stood across from her in the center of the field. Arms folded. Expression unreadable. The warrior captain looked entirely too comfortable, which was never a good sign. Orion sat nearby, watching, waiting, like an oversized furry instructor. A role he seemed to enjoy far too much. Arya rolled her shoulders. Let's establish something first, Arya said. Ivy immediately disliked the tone. What? Out there, you're a queen. She gestured toward the surrounding crowd. Then she pointed at the training ground beneath their feet. But in here, a small smile appeared. You're a student. Several warriors nodded approvingly. Apparently, they liked that answer. Ivy sighed. Fair enough. Arya's smile widened. Good. Before Ivy could react, the warrior attacked. Fast. Ridiculously fast. A blur of silver movement crossed the distance between them. Instinct took over and Ivy barely managed to dodge. Arya's fist sliced through empty air. The crowd erupted with excited shouts. Again. Arya pivoted immediately. Another strike. Then another. Then another. Ivy retreated rapidly, avoiding every blow by inches. The captain moved like water. Smooth. Precise. Relentless. Every attack flowed naturally into the next. Years of training and experience. Years of fighting. Against that kind of skill, Ivy felt hopelessly outmatched. Which she was. A fact Arya demonstrated repeatedly. 30 seconds later, Ivy hit the dirt. Hard. The crowd winced collectively. Even Orion looked mildly sympathetic. A deeply disturbing sight because the giant wolf wasn't known for sympathy. Arya offered a hand. Ivy accepted it, then immediately regretted doing so. The captain used her grip to throw her again. This time the crowd laughed, including Orion. Traitor. Absolute traitor. You cheated. Arya raised an eyebrow. There are no rules in combat. That's a terrible rule. It's an excellent rule. Unfortunately, she had a point. A very annoying point. Something Ivy kept encountering lately. Apparently, wisdom and irritation often traveled together. Who knew? The lesson continued. And continued. And continued. By lunchtime, Ivy hurt in places she didn't know existed. Every muscle ached and every joint complained. Walking had become a negotiation between determination and pain. Arya remained entirely unaffected. Naturally. The warrior captain crouched beside her. You rely too much on your eyes. Ivy wiped sweat from her forehead. What else am I supposed to use? Arya smiled. Everything else. Not helpful at all. The captain pointed toward the forest. What do you smell? The question seemed random, yet she obeyed, closing her eyes, focusing. At first, she noticed nothing. Then, something shifted. The world exploded into detail. Pine trees, fresh water, wildflowers, with smoke from the valley, animal scents drifting through the mountains, thousands of smells, layered, complex and alive. Ivy's eyes snapped open. Shock spread across her face. Arya nodded. There. The captain pointed toward her. That's your real strength. The realization hit immediately. Since awakening, her senses had grown stronger. Much stronger. Yet she hadn't truly explored them. Hadn't trusted them. Arya stepped back. Now, let's try again. The warrior suddenly disappeared. Not literally. Just very, very quickly. This time Ivy closed her eyes. The crowd murmured in confusion. Arya circled silently. Testing. Ivy listened. Not with her ears, but with everything inside her. Heartbeat, breathing, movement. The subtle shift of air. Then she moved. A hand shot outward, catching Arya's wrist. The training field fell silent, and the captain froze. Genuine surprise crossed her face. Ivy opened her eyes. Slowly. A grin spread across her face. Arya stared, then laughed. A real laugh. Not mocking. Respectful. The warrior stepped back. That was interesting. For the first time since arriving in the valley, Ivy felt proud. Not because she had won. She absolutely hadn't. Arya could still flatten her without much effort, and she is very aware of that. But because she was improving, growing. For once, she wasn't the weakest person in the room. And that felt pretty damn good. That evening, Orion found her sitting alone above the valley. The mountains glowed orange beneath the setting sun, and a cool breeze drifted through the trees. The peaceful silence reminded Ivy of her first morning here. Though now, the valley felt less like a refuge and more like home. A strange thought, yet a comforting one. Orion settled beside her. You did well today. Ivy smirked. Arya would disagree. Arya disagrees with everyone. They watched the sunset quietly, until Orion finally spoke again. Something troubles you. Ivy hesitated. The answer came easily. Too easily. Kane. The name lingered between them. Orion's expression darkened. Not with anger, with understanding. She stared toward the horizon. He rejected me. The words still hurt. Less than before, but enough. He humiliated me. He let them throw me away. The old wolf remained silent, listening. I should hate him. The confession surprised even her. A part of me does, she softly confessed. But another part. She stopped, embarrassed and ashamed. The mountains stretched endlessly before them, beautiful and peaceful. Confused? Orion finished her statement. Still cares, and you don't know why. Ivy nodded. The giant wolf sighed, a very old sigh. the kind that suggested centuries of experience. The heart is stubborn, he says. Love rarely disappears simply because it becomes inconvenient. Ivy groaned. That sounds like something an elder would say. He chuckled. I am an elder, you know. She hated when he had a point. It happened far too often. The old wolf looked toward the darkening sky. Would you like the truth? Ivy immediately became suspicious. Probably not, but go for it. He fears you. The answer caught her off guard. What do you mean? Not now. Orion's gaze drifted toward the horizon. Then. Ivy frowned. Kane never feared me. The old wolf's golden eyes narrowed. You misunderstand. He feared what choosing you would cost him. The words settled heavily between them. A possibility Ivy had never considered. Not even once. Because it was easier to believe Kane simply didn't want her. Far easier. Then, Orion rose slowly. Fear makes people do foolish things. The giant wolf turned toward the valley. Unfortunately, some mistakes cannot be undone. A strange unease settled inside Ivy's chest. The conversation lingered in her mind long after Orion left. Because for the first time, she found herself wondering whether Kane regretted his choice. And far beyond the forest, under the same moonlit sky, someone else was wondering the exact same thing. That night, the elders gathered once more. The atmosphere inside the council chamber felt grim. Candles flickered and the ancient stone walls cast long shadows. Every single seat was occupied, every expression serious. Kane immediately knew something was wrong. Very wrong. Elder Marcus stood near the center of the room. The oldest wolf in the pack looked exhausted, worried, and strangely afraid. The sight alone was enough to raise alarm, because Marcus wasn't afraid of much. What happened? The elder exchanged glances with the others, then slowly spoke. The border scouts reported unusual activity. Kane frowned. What kind of activity? The answer came from another elder. The forest. A chill moved through the room. The forest of no return. Several wolves immediately shifted uneasily. Even hearing its name made people uncomfortable. Then Marcus continued. The scouts reported silver lights. Kane's pulse quickened. What do you mean silver lights? His full attention on the elder. For some reason the phrase felt important. Dangerously important. How many? Dozens. The room fell silent. The elder swallowed. They appeared 3 nights ago. 3 nights. Exactly when Ivy entered the forest. The realization struck instantly. Judging by the expressions around him, everyone else reached the same conclusion. No one spoke. No one needed to. Marcus finally broke the silence. And the lights are growing stronger. Another elder nodded. Animals are migrating away from the northern border. Entire herds. Something is happening in those woods. Fear spread through the chamber. Not panic yet, but concern. Real concern. Kane remained quiet. His thoughts was racing. 3 nights. Silver lights. The forest. Ivy. A possibility began forming. A ridiculous possibility. An impossible possibility. Yet no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't dismiss it. What if she's alive? The words escaped before he could stop them. The room froze. Several elders exchanged stunned looks. Marcus slowly turned toward him. For a long moment no one spoke. Then the old wolf sighed. I've been wondering the same thing. The admission hit like lightning. Suddenly the impossible didn't seem quite so impossible. If Ivy survived, everything changed. Everything. A strange feeling settled inside Kane's chest. Hope? The emotion caught him completely off guard. Because hope was dangerous. Hope meant there was still a chance. A chance to explain. A chance to apologize. A chance to make things right. Then another thought followed. A darker one. What if she didn't want his apology? What if she hated him? The possibility hurt more than expected. And that terrified him. Because it meant his feelings for Ivy had become something he could no longer deny. Something real and powerful. Something he should have recognized sooner. Unfortunately, life rarely rewards people for learning important lessons late. And Kane had learned his very, very late. Far away, hidden deep within the ancient forest, Ivy stood alone beneath the moon. The valley slept behind her. The mountains stretched endlessly before her. Silver mist drifted between the ancient trees, and the night felt peaceful, calm. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing. Lunara felt it too. The world is moving, she heard Lunara say inside her mind. Ivy frowned. What does that mean? The giant wolf remained silent for several moments, listening, sensing, watching things far beyond mortal perception, and when she finally answered, her voice carried unusual gravity. It means destiny has awakened. The response was less than helpful. A remarkable talent shared by nearly every ancient being Ivy had met so far. What does that actually mean? Lunara's amusement brushed against her thoughts. It means people are beginning to notice you. That wasn't encouraging at all. Not even slightly. Ivy stared toward the distant horizon. Beyond those mountains lay Black Moon Pack. Kane. Her old life. The place she once believed she belonged. Now it felt impossibly distant. Like another lifetime of another person. The girl who entered the forest definitely no longer existed. Not entirely. She had changed. Grown. Awakened. Yet part of her still wondered. Still questioned. Still hurt, and Lunara noticed it immediately. You are thinking about him again. Ivy groaned. Can wolves mind their own business? No. Wonderful, she said, defeated. The giant wolf's laughter echoed warmly through their bond. Then her mood shifted. Instantly. The change sent a chill through Ivy. What is it? Silence. Then. Someone is coming. Every muscle in Ivy's body tensed. What? Lunara's attention focused somewhere far beyond the valley. Far beyond the mountains. Not tonight. The wolf's voice darkened. But soon. A cold wind swept through the trees. The forest seemed to grow quieter. Lunara's next words barely rose above a whisper. The game has begun. And that's where we'll leave Ivy for now. Things are getting interesting. While Ivy begins to embrace her new life among the silver wolves, the world beyond the forest is beginning to change. Strange signs are appearing, old fears are waking, and the secret that remained hidden for 1,000 years is no longer as safe as it once was. Back at Black Moon Pack, Kane is finally being forced to face the consequences of his choices. The woman he rejected is never far from his thoughts, and for the first time, he's beginning to wonder if he made the biggest mistake of his life. But regret has a nasty habit of arriving long after the damage is done. In the next chapter, new enemies will emerge from the shadows, old secrets will be revealed, and Ivy will take another step toward becoming the queen she was always destined to be. Before you go, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there right now. I always enjoy seeing how far these stories travel and which corners of the world are joining us for the journey. And if you're enjoying the Silver Wolf Queen, please consider subscribing. Every subscriber helps us reach our next community milestone and keep stories like this coming. Until next time, like always, be blessed and stay safe out there.